أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the universe, the master of the day of judgment. I bear witness and testimony to the oneness of Allah, to His magnificence, His omnipotence, His might, His glory, to His being the creator and sustainer of all things, the giver of life, the guider of hearts, the master of the day of judgment. And I bear witness to the fact that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and final messenger. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and upon all those who choose to tread in his path until the last day. It is said that the companions of the Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam posed to him a question involving a woman who they identified and said that this was a woman who would pray often in the nights and spend her days fasting. That she was one who had many good deeds and gave a lot in charity. But she was also one who would harm her neighbors with her tongue. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he is asked about this woman, he responds to his companions, La khayra fiha, that there is no khair in her, there is nothing good. Hiya min ahl an-nar, that she is from the people of the fire. May Allah protect us from it. And when they put forth the scenario of a woman who doesn't really pray so much, doesn't do more than what is obligatory, that her deeds are not so great in number, but her neighbor is there, safe from her tongue. He says, Hiya min ahl al-jannah, that she is from the people of paradise. May Allah make us from amongst them. Where we have spoken for some time about this idea of character, drawing upon a narration in the prophetic tradition where the Prophet ﷺ, he says that the best from amongst you are those that have the most beautiful of character. Imam al-Munawi rahimahullah, he cites in a text the commentary on this hadith by a sheikh named Yusuf ibn Asbat rahimahullah, who says that there are 10 signs that somebody actually has good character. In previous weeks, we went through the first 8 of those 10. And today we want to focus on the last 2. Where in his commentary he says that one who has good character, they rarely argue, they argue infrequently. That they treat equitably, husn al-insaf, people, they give everybody their due right. There's balance that is there. That they leave behind seeking out the faults of others. Tarak talab al-afarat. And then they find beauty in the shortcomings of those that are around them. Tahseen ma yabdu min as-sayyi'at. That they are ones who seek out forgiveness. Fifthly and sixthly, they bear the harm of others. The seventhly, الرجوع بالملامة على نفسي, that they are those who reproach themselves often. And 8, they focus on their own faults. And then he says, 9th, that they are people who have a cheerful presence. What we say in Arabic, talaqat al-wajh, that literally their face just has cheerfulness on it. And prior to getting into it, to recognize why this is something that is imperative for you and I to focus upon. Because in the initial framing of this, the hadith, it outlines individuals who engage in the practice of ritual that from the external means so much. But knowledge in and of itself is not the only goal of this tradition. And where you get to a place where you have the acquisition of information and your implementation of it is not transformative from both the inside as well as the people around you. And for you and I to have indication as to how it is that we actively and deliberately can see what is the state of our hearts. The thing that we are taught that our God looks to. That is very clear when we are taught by the best of teachers, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Allah is not going to look at your forms, but He's going to look at your hearts and your deeds. And may Allah grant us the best of hearts and let our deeds be the best of deeds that are presented to Him. And the way that we know what's going on in our heart, or one of the ways rather, is to just see how it is that we treat those that are around us. That to have parameters and metrics through which we have in our own muhasabah, an accounting that is rooted in just reality and honesty. You want to know where your heart lies, just see what it is telling the rest of your body to do. And you can even say that's in relation to how you treat yourself, as well as how you treat those that are around you. And those actions, they can serve as a mechanism that strategically you now start to say, this is the I that is me, but I have aspiration to be the person that I know I can potentially be tomorrow. And so a second part before we go into the last two advices, the purpose of being in a space like this where we engage on wisdoms from those who have thought and pondered and reflected for their benefit as well as ours is not to just be in a place where we hear it, but you actually go out and do it. So you sit and you say, well, the Shaykh, he says that the first sign of good character, and the Prophet says that the best of you are the ones who have good character, is that you hardly ever argue. So I'm going to sit and assess where my argumentativeness lies. That you treat people equitably. So I'm going to engage in reflection and contemplation, and I'll go through each and every point, not for a place where I just regurgitate it, definitely not in a way where I assess somebody else's goodness. But I start to apply it to myself, and I start to interject it into my own strategy of self-care and wellness, because I embrace the reality that there's a world beyond this one. And what I do here and what I do to it and what I do to the citizens of it, the creation amongst it, is going to play a role in determining where I end up in the world beyond this one. And may Allah grant us the best of places in the world beyond this one. I saw it with a young man from our community in my office, and he was saying to me that I want to achieve and I want to set goals, and I don't like certain things that are going in certain ways. And we sat down and mapped out strategy and implementation of habit deconstruction and how you could reach goals and overcome them through internal and external obstacle recognition, and went through a whole process of saying how this can be done. I said, do you think you're going to do it? And he said, yeah. And I said, really? And he said, no. And I said, why not? And he said, I don't know. And I said, you know what, man? You know why there's tons of bestsellers out there as books on various book lists that are just about self-help and self-development and personal growth, and it all just says the same stuff over and over? It's because people read it, but they don't act upon it. They have it literally at their fingertips, and people just keep pushing out the same thing, deepening their pockets, knowing that people will engage it as entertainment, but not education. Or find within themselves a recognition that not even for anybody else, but just for they themselves, they deserve to be able to take themselves on and be in pursuit of the very best they could potentially be. So you got to make a commitment that says that I'm going to take it and I'm going to do something with it. And I'm going to have the humility to recognize that within myself there is likely things that I can grow and improve upon. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't want to be the person who just hears and does nothing, because the command is sami'na wa ata'na, that I heard and I obeyed, I followed. May Allah make us from amongst them. We have everybody please move up. As I mentioned in the beginning, the tape that's on the ground is for when we line up for prayers, but if we can fill up the spots and gaps in between, just because people are going to be coming in. So if you move up, if you see any gaps in front of you, and you can move also to the side of the room towards the windows so that people can shift in as they come, that would be great. And so when Yusuf ibn Asbat, rahimahullah, he now gives us the 9th sign of good character. He says, talaqat al-wajh, that you have a cheerful disposition, a cheerful presence. The root of that word in and of itself just denotes cheerfulness. The inclusion of the word wajh is giving us the idea that it's apparent on your face, that it's just there. And it's derived from the same root as the word for divorce in Islam, talaq, as well as the same word for a freed person in Islam, taliq. And so the idea is that you are essentially separating yourself from something that is causing you difficulty, harm, that you want to understand where the commonality is, right? It's not that cheerfulness has the same root as divorce, because some of us would be a lot happier if we weren't married to the people we were married to. But it's because we're in a place where the recognition on a more nuanced level is that you are removing from yourself something that isn't necessarily allowing for you to have that sense of positivity and productivity. As the free person who is taliq is not in a place where he has to now deal with the confines and constraints that come from being shackled. But his emancipation allows for him now to feel a liberation. And so that cheerfulness, talaqa, is about being separated from what it is that causes you that angst, that anxiety, that anguish. The same way the divorced person is separated and the freed man is separated, so too you are separating yourself from the cause of that pain, and there is just positivity that's there. You've separated yourself from where it is that there is toxicity that breeds anxiety and negativity. When we read our tradition, we have so many people who tell us that when they would see the Prophet ﷺ, that he would always smile at them. That this was a man ﷺ who some of his companions said that I never saw him look at me and he wasn't smiling. That he tells us that you will not satisfy people with wealth. That in his own counsels to us, he says, you will not satisfy people with wealth, but you will satisfy them with a cheerful disposition and good morals, good ethics. The presence that comes from it is not just for us to limit this understanding to a smile on our face. Ibn Nadhr rahimahullah, he says that the first sign of manliness, maruah, is this idea of having a cheerful disposition. And maruah was something that the Arab society that Islam was introduced into was just prevalent everywhere. People had this idea of machismo and being a man's man. And here this man is saying that, you know what really makes you manly? Is that when people are around you, they feel better. That when you come into the room, people feel uplifted. That your presence is what takes people from anguish and anxiety to a place of hopefulness and optimism. And that's what cheerfulness is. It's not that you walk around and prance around in a way where you are the center of attention because there is ridicule and mockery, or you are debasing yourself to gain people's praise. But it's that when things are heavy or people feel as if there's nothing else that can really go right, you walk into the picture and you remind them that tomorrow will be better. That you have the capacity to take one from a place of darkness to light. And you serve in a manner in which illumination is entered into by those who feel as if nothing around them breeds any type of light. And he says that the ninth sign of good character, that somebody has it, is that they have the ability to do that for people. It doesn't have to be force-fed. And when you recognize the unique capacity of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to be that inspiration for people that were around him, he knew how to take care of other people's hearts because he took care of his own heart. And it's going to be really hard to be able to help somebody deal with their pain if you're not real about the pain that you hold. That if you get to a place where you just gloss over it, or you allow for yourself to deflect it or run away from it, from outlets that just give you temporary satisfaction, but don't allow for you to really recognize where the source of discomfort comes from. You can only give to others what you possess in the first place. So if you want to give somebody contentment, you have to have contentment. And this is what he means when he says that you will not give people satisfaction just from dunya. That when somebody's down and somebody's sad, somebody's hurting because they lost a loved one, a relationship didn't work out, they failed an exam, they lost their job, they lost their home, they live in the back of their car, there's just difficulty on difficulty on difficulty. A family member gets deported. Somebody isn't allowed into the country. You're not going to say, here's some money, hopefully it'll make you feel better. But what's going to help is going to be how your internal connects to their internal. And so you start to deliberately choose positivity. You enable yourself to go through the steps and mechanisms that say that for the sake of the people around me, I will allow for myself to be wherever I can in a spirit of positivity. And that means that you don't fake it, but when you're hurting, you turn to the people around you. The Prophet gets his first revelation, he thinks he lost his mind. He goes to the city of Taif, abused by people, and walks out and turns to the heavens asking God if he has forsaken him. These are not moments that are without difficulty, and the difficulty's presence is such that the Prophet acknowledges them but allows for himself to synthesize and reconcile them so that his movement forward isn't one that's just buried under heaviness. Each one of us is entitled to real contentment, and may Allah make us from amongst those who have real rida. The opportunity for us to be able to find that internal sense of fulfillment necessitates not allowing for our capacities to be limited in terms of what really gives it to us. So you take care of you so you can take care of others. And then that disposition, it becomes transformative, especially in days that seem really heavy, where you have the opportunity to not be anything other than a source of hope and a source of inspiration. And it might not be for the masses, or it might even be, but there's even one person that you allow for them to feel the blessings of glad tidings that come from you. And you make people feel good. The other end of the spectrum, we recognize that this is not even about limiting yourself from making people feel terrible, but allowing for yourself to be the presence through which they are brought up. And so the narration, for example, that many of us know, where the man asked the Prophet ﷺ to teach him something, and he says, when you hear somebody sneeze, say Yarhamakullah. And so the man has learned something at the hands of the Prophet of God. After he has embraced this deen of Islam, they stand to pray the Asr prayer, and in the course of the prayer somebody sneezes, and the man says Yarhamakullah. And the people who are praying with him, they start to look at him and he starts to feel agitated inside. The hadith says he gets upset and speaks again, why are you looking at me? And they say that they start to beat the inner parts of their thighs to get him to understand he should not talk. And he recognizes and he learns, but it doesn't make him feel right. At the end of the prayer, he says that, I swear by Allah, Muhammad is the best of teachers. He did not strike me, he did not revile me, he did not scold me. He simply said to me that in the course of this prayer of ours, we are saying the words of God. It is not appropriate to mix them with other words. How does the Prophet make somebody who felt terrible feel good? And it's not just about the words that he chooses, but his entire demeanor. And you can be that person. And your ability to recognize that, especially in days where it seems like things just get heavy and heavy and heavy. Be a voice of optimism and positivity. And allow for yourself to benefit from that as well. And then the 10th sign that he says, rahimahullah, in reference to good character, a sign of good character, husn al-kalam, that there is a beauty in speech. And here there might be an obviousness to it, that the presence of beauty in speech is also about the absence of ugliness in speech. That the sign that your character is good is that you are not cursing, you are not vulgar, you are not crude and inappropriate, you are not demeaning and condescending, arrogant in any of those ways. That your words, they are measured, that they have a certain illumination to them, that the tone and the tenor is something that embodies what it means to actually be from the children of Adam. That you distinguish yourself from the rest of creation so that your words never sound like you are barking at someone or roaring at someone or anything that makes you yield simply to your animalistic self. But there's beauty in your words, in your entire demeanor. That is Mawlana Rumi rahimahullah, he says, raise your words, elevate your words, not your voices. That it is the rain that makes the flowers grow, not the thunder. You allow for yourself to recognize that the deprivation of it, in and of itself, is part of its beauty. Man kana yu'minu billahi wa bil yawm al-akhir falyaqul khayran aw liyasmut. That whosoever is habitually believing in God in the last day, let him speak good or be silent. Then you think about the choice of the words and ensure that there is goodness to them. And you start by expressing and you attach the two together, the cheerful disposition, and you bring goodness into people's lives and you utilize your words as a means to that. So you say thank you to the people around you. It'll make them feel better. You express sorrow and apology when something has been done wrong by your hands. It'll make people feel better. You ask people how they are doing. You tell them that they did a good job. Tell them that they impress you or what the things that they do that are impressive. Help them to celebrate achievement. Let them know that there's actual goodness that comes from them. The majority of many of our conversations exist in a place where the bond is rooted at times in ridicule that's based in debasement. But you sit down with sincerity and genuineness, and you just tell the people that are around you what it is that they have going on that's good. That husn al-kalam, it also enables us to recognize that the manner in which we speak to people around us recognizes where it is that they're coming from. So in terms of your words, your entire demeanor, your body language, your conduct, especially your speech, you recognize when you are younger than somebody and what it means to talk to somebody who is older. You recognize what it means to be somebody's husband and what the Prophet says, that the best from amongst you are the ones who are best to their wives. You recognize what it means to be a father or a mother, and you honor the rights of your child by only speaking words of beauty. You are in a space where you understand the impact from those who have done for you the things that so many pass them by. Like the security guard who signs you in at the building. And if your frustration is about, why do I have to do this, versus thinking about the guy who is sitting there writing your name over and over and over again, and you say to him, who he doesn't have to do that for any other community except this community on the day of Friday with a couple of other volunteers, thank you for doing what you do for us. With the intention that I want to interject beautiful speech into somebody's life. So 10 signs we are given of good character. May Allah make us from amongst those who act upon them and understand them and seek to live them. That the person who has good character, he rarely ever argues. That the person who has good character, they treat people equitably, regardless of their race, their class, their religion, their background. That the person who has good character, they leave behind seeking the faults of others, the mistakes of others. That the person who has good character, they focus on their own faults. That the person who has good character, they seek forgiveness from others. And the person who has good character, they bear others' burdens. They walk with people through their pain. That the person who has good character, they embrace an attitude of self-reproachment. And the person who has good character, they focus on their own faults. And as we mentioned in today's khutbah, the person who has good character, they have a cheerful presence, an air of optimism around them. And that their speech as a person of good character has beauty to it. The words that they utilize are rooted in beauty. Take them, act upon them, think about it, and then implement strategy that says, this is how it is that I will move forward on it. If you try to do 10 all at once, it might work, but likely it'll be a little bit more tough. And where you can bring in people that are of good conscience, that you know that you are willing to take feedback from them, but your love for them and their love for you will allow for them to be people who help you to admit and move forward in your own spiritual, personal, emotional growth. Then all you have to do from that is try your best. Because ours is a deen that isn't even necessarily about outcomes as much as it's about the journeys and the struggles that we're willing to take to get to the goals that we know we want for ourselves. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. Before we make some announcements and du'as, we'd give to you a quick reminder that inshallah ta'ala, we're just weeks away from the month of Ramadan. May Allah allow for us to reach it and benefit from it. And so in the coming weeks, we'll have different programs and events, and you'll start to hear people talk more about it. You want to make a commitment, if you haven't already, to start using this day and days that come forward to just start getting ready for the month. On a physical level, if you have to be ready for the fast, start fasting in some of these days. If you're somebody who is not able to fast, start planning a strategy for yourself that when others are fasting, you will not engage in a mode of self-deprecation. Our religion gives you exemption. You still can benefit from the month of Ramadan. Allow for yourself to start thinking about it now. If you know there's certain things that will make it difficult for you, your sleeping habits, your eating habits, the company that you keep, your work schedule, from being able to partake and participate in things that you know are good for you, that render positivity, then make the plans from now and allow for yourself to be as present as possible in gaining and acquiring from that month of Ramadan everything as best as you can. But if you haven't started thinking about it, please start thinking about it. If you are a person who is here and your friends, your families are not here, let them know as well. And find people that you can perhaps break fast together with in the coming days. You'll have suhoor together in the coming days. You'll make commitments to praying together in the coming days, or reading Quran, or doing charity work, or anything of those lines. But inshallah ta'ala, Allah will make us from amongst those who reach this blessed month and allow for us to be from amongst those who benefit from it. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد في الأولين وفي الآخرين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. We begin this supplication in your name, Ya Allah, and beseech you to send your choicest salutations upon your most beloved sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. We ask that you shower your infinite mercy upon this gathering, granting each and every one who is present herein and our loved ones only the best in this world and the best in the next. We ask, Ya Allah, that if all of us are meant to be together only at this time, at this place, whether we are young or old, male or female, regardless of our race, our ethnicity, our social class, our country of origin, our cultural heritage, whether we are Muslim or come from a different walk of life, Ya Rabbi, if our individual hearts are meant to be in the presence of all other hearts that are gathered here only at this time, at this place, then gather us all together again in the best of places in the world beyond this one. Make us, Ya Allah, from those who have good character. Make us from those who benefit from the experiences, the teachings, the wisdoms of those who came before us. Make us never from amongst those who are so lost in the pursuit of this dunya, in hopes of gaining some part of it, that we leave behind and forget the most precious world that exists inside of us, within our hearts, that are the places that you look to, Ya Rabb. Ya Allah, grant us hearts that are filled with hope and tranquility. Grant us hearts that draw us to only that which is good and beautiful. Grant us hearts that cause us to shudder and tremble when we are in the presence of any type of injustice or oppression. And hearts that command the rest of our body to act in the face of that injustice and oppression in pursuit of real truth and the increase of balance that the world is in need of in that moment. Make us those, Ya Allah, who don't argue as frequently as we do. Those who honor the rights of all of your creation and treat people equitably with dignity and respect. Make us those, Ya Allah, who leave behind the act of finding fault and seeking out people's mistakes, and not focus on the flaws and shortcomings of others. Make us those, Ya Allah, who seek forgiveness from those that we have wronged, and find ease in forgiving those who have wronged us. Make us those who, when people turn to us with their difficulties, their pain, their hardship, that we are strong enough and wise enough and have enough love within us to walk with them through their challenges and carry their pain. Make us those who constantly look to ourselves to see where it is that we can improve and to enhance the good that we do to be even better. And make us those who focus on ourselves and our self-development always. Make us those whose presence brings benefit to the people around us. Those whose presence gives people a sense of hope and inspiration. And make us those, Ya Allah, who use our tongues, our words, our speech only to speak good, or otherwise make us those who remain silent. Make us those, Ya Allah, who aspire to have a beautiful character. Those, Ya Allah, who are motivated by ethics, morals, and the pursuit of goodness in all of its truest forms. And forgive us for our shortcomings when we make mistakes or forget what it is that we are really meant to be living for in this world. Protect us always from hearts that are not humble, tongues that are not wise, and eyes that have forgotten how to cry. Forgive us for our shortcomings and guide and bless us all. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وأقيم الصلاة.